You decided you are ready to hire. Now comes the harder problem: finding a producer worth hiring in a market where every agency, every FMO, and every carrier captive office is fishing in the same pond. This training shows you how to recruit agents who actually produce, where to look, how to filter, what to say in the first conversation, and how to spot the signals that separate a producer from a person who collects appointments and never closes anything. Here is why this matters for your business. The single most expensive mistake in agency building is not a bad hire. It is the wrong bad hire repeated 3 times in a row. Each failed producer costs you 6 to 9 months of training time, lost lead flow, damaged client relationships, and roughly $40,000 to $60,000 in compensation, lead spend, and override leakage you will never recover. The fear most agency owners carry is that the good producers are already taken. They are not. The truth is harder. The good producers are visible, they are findable, and most agency owners just do not know how to look for them or what to say when they find them. Recruiting is a skill, and the skill is teachable. Step 1 is knowing what you are actually looking for. Most agency owners start with the wrong filter. They look for licensed agents with experience. That is the bare minimum, not a qualifier. A producer worth hiring has 4 traits. 1, they have a track record of personal production, even if it is small. 20 applications a month from a captive shop is more meaningful than a license held for 10 years with no production. 2, they are coachable. They take feedback, change behavior inside a week, and come back with questions. 3, they have a personality fit for your client base. If you write Medicare in a small town, you do not want a transactional volume producer who cuts corners on relationships. 4, they have a financial runway of at least 90 days. New producers in commission-only roles fail when their savings runs out before the first override hits. If a candidate is missing one of those 4, you can train around it. If they are missing 2, you are going to spend a year fixing a problem you should have screened out in the first conversation. Step 2 is sourcing. There are 5 places to find producers worth hiring, and they are not equally productive. The first source is your existing book. Clients who light up when you talk about the work, who ask thoughtful questions, who refer their friends. Some of them have been thinking about a career change. Ask them. The producer with a built-in trust network in your community will outproduce a stranger every time. The second source is captive carrier offices. Agents who have spent 2 to 3 years inside a captive shop have product knowledge, sales reps, and a real ceiling on what they can earn. They are the most reliable source of trained producers in the market. Build relationships with managers at those offices, attend industry meetings, and stay in casual contact for years. The third source is your local association meetings and continuing education courses. The producers who show up to non-required events are the ones who care about getting better. Those are the people you want. The fourth source is referrals from your existing producers, once you have any. The best producer you ever hire will introduce you to the second best producer. Pay a real referral bonus. $3,000 to $5,000 at the 90-day mark is fair and effective. The fifth source is the open job board route. LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, your state association job board. This is the lowest yield source because every agency is fishing there, and the candidates know it, use it, but do not rely on it. The agency owners who consistently recruit producers run sources 1 through 4 every single month. Job boards are filler, not the strategy. Step 3 is the first conversation. Most agency owners blow this by pitching too early. They lead with their override structure, their carrier lineup, and the size of their book. The candidate has heard that pitch from 6 other agencies in the last 60 days. It does not move them. The first conversation is not a pitch. It is a diagnosis. You spend the first 30 minutes listening. You ask 3 questions, and you let them answer fully without interrupting. Question 1. Walk me through the last 12 months. What were you selling? How did you sell it? And what is your honest production number? You are listening for specifics. A real producer can tell you their applications, their average premium, their carrier mix, and what their current frustration is. Vague answers are a warning sign. Question 2. If nothing changed about your situation in the next 12 months, what is your honest read on where you would be? You are listening for self-awareness. The producer who can name what is broken in their current setup is the producer who will adapt to yours. The producer who blames the carrier, the leads, the office manager, and the weather is the producer who will blame you next year. Question 3. What would have to be true about a new opportunity for you to make a move? You are listening for what they actually value. Some producers want autonomy. Some want training. Some want lead flow. Some want a path to ownership. The right answer is the one that matches what your agency can actually deliver. Step 4 is the screening test before the offer. Never extend a written offer based on conversation alone. Run a working session. Pay them for the time, 2 to 3 hours at a fair hourly rate. In that session, you give them a real lead packet, a current carrier rate sheet, and a fictional client scenario. They walk you through how they would run the appointment from the first phone call to the application. You watch 3 things: how they handle a lead with incomplete information, how they explain a product without using jargon, how they respond when you push back on something they said. The producer who adjusts cleanly under pressure is the producer who will adjust on a real client. The producer who gets defensive or freezes is the producer who will fold the first time a client raises an objection. This single working session has saved more agency owners more money than any other recruiting tool. Most candidates have never been screened this way. The ones who agree to the session are the ones who are serious. The ones who refuse have already told you everything you need to know. Step 5 is the offer itself. By the time you get here, you should already know what they value, what they will accept, and how they handle pressure. The offer should not surprise them. Put it in writing on one page. Compensation structure, lead handoff, training cadence for the first 90 days, production expectations at month 3 and month 6, and the path forward at month 12. No hidden fine print, no verbal promises that do not appear in the document. Always work with an employment attorney in your state before you finalize any offer document. The candidate will respect a clean, specific offer more than a vague, generous one. Vague offers signal an agency that does not know what it wants. Specific offers signal an agency that knows what it is building. Here's how this comes together for a real recruit. You have 3 names on your list this quarter. 2 from a captive carrier office relationship, 1 referral from a client who works in healthcare and knows several agents. You take each one to coffee, run the 3-question diagnosis, and walk away with field notes. One of the 3 has vague production numbers and blames their current office for everything. You drop them. The second has solid numbers but values complete autonomy, and your model requires weekly training meetings. You drop them. The third has clear production data, names exactly what is broken in their current setup, and lights up when you describe the training, cadence, and lead handoff. You run the 3-hour working session. They handle a messy lead well, explain a med sub benefit in plain language, and adjust quickly when you challenge their assumed close. You make a written offer, they start in 3 weeks. 6 months later, they are at production target. 1 hire from 3 conversations is a healthy ratio. If you are hiring 1 from every conversation, your filter is too loose. If you cannot find 1 in 10, your sourcing is too narrow. Common mistake to avoid. Do not recruit producers who are currently in a non-compete or non-solicit agreement without involving your attorney. The legal exposure to your agency is real. The cost is high, and a good producer is not worth a lawsuit you could have avoided with 1 phone call. Another common mistake. Do not skip the working session because the candidate seems impressive in conversation. Charisma is the most common warning sign in recruiting. The producer who interviews the best is often the producer who has practiced the interview the most. The working session is where the real ability shows up. Your action step today. Pull a list of 5 names. 2 captive agents you have noticed in your local market. 1 client who has the personality and the network to become a producer. 1 association connection you have lost touch with. 1 referral source you have never asked for a recruiting introduction. Send each one a short message this week. No pitch, just an invitation to coffee in the next 30 days with a 1-line explanation that you are building something and want their honest read on the market. 3 of the 5 will say yes. 1 of those 3 will eventually become your producer or introduce you to the producer who becomes your producer. Recruiting is not an event. It is a habit. The agencies that hire well are the agencies that have a recruiting list open every single quarter, whether they have an opening or not.